running. How many people in here already have an entity established for their business? Okay, so we have 1, 2. Okay, 2 people already have an entity established for their business. All right, well, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about ways to grow your business. We're going to talk kind of about how you do your financials, all those kind of things, but I think we'll start right in. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about, I guess we went straight to the growth navigator. Oh, from the very top. Oh, good. One over. I'm trying to do that.
Might use the keyboard, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Screen is acting funny with
it. Okay, so I'll try that. Okay, so basically what this is kind of a, and there's a QR code on most of this stuff. So if you want some of this information or whatever, feel free to scan the QR code. If you're in the corners, it might be a little tougher. But anyways, this one right here kind of tells you a little bit about how your business is established. If you're a zero, about $100,000 agent, then you're probably right here in the starting phase. And who's your assistant in this phase? Anybody know? Yourself. You are, yes. Okay, so once you're in this area here, your business freedom index is about a $0 to $25. I better not touch anything. Time investment, 30 to 40 hours. How does it feel? You're excited. You're naive because you're excited. You about 80% fall out in this area here. So when you're a new agent or whatever, it's most likely that, you know, either you're going to put it in the time and effort and everything that it takes to succeed, or it's going to take that time and effort away from you and you're not going to succeed. So it's a very difficult area to be. You're trying to figure out where your next transaction is coming from, and your core habits is skill building and determination. So if you can keep boosting yourself and you can keep building on those skills, this is where you're going to get from this area here, your solo agent to your ramp, which is $100,000 to $500,000. Anybody currently believe they're in the ramp area? This is where you have 1 full-time admin and you're 1 agent. Okay, so we've got 1 person that's in that realm right now. Basically, you're 100,000 all the way to 500,000. Your business freedom index, $25 to $50. Business freedom index. Does anybody kind of have a question what that means? Okay, it's kind of your dollar per hour. So in other words, here your dollar per hour starts to go up. So if there's any task that you're doing that is below the $25 to $50 area, you should be farming that out. Somebody else should be doing those tasks for you. In this phase here, again, like I said, you have an assistant, you're hopeful, you're really busy, you're wondering if there's more to life than real estate because you're doing it all the time. And then where do I need to leverage the most? You delegate to your admin, your tasks, you leverage your lead generation, selling is a priority. This is where you're spending a lot of your time on the sales, and the admin is spending the 80% on those things that you should be doing, and the 20% is your selling. You're lead generating your appointments and your selling. Then the next stage we move to is build. That's 500,000 to $1 million. You're at about a $50 to $100 per hour in that area there. So if anything is less than that, you should be farming it out. Somebody else should be doing that work for you. 50 to 60 hours per week. It jumps from 40 to 50 to 50 to 60. Why? Because you're now building. So you're spending more time, you're trying to figure things out. You have a high ceiling with time and stress, and you need a clear roadmap. What systems do I need to build and firm up? You leverage on your buyer side, your system for improved delivery, your seller leadership. You have an admin, and you may have 2 to 4 agents. So basically now you're starting to ramp up the business. You're finding yourself more in it, but you're hoping that at some point in time you can pull yourself further away from it as you build the business bigger. There was a conversation that we had over in Austin over there at some of our meetings with Gary, things like that. They talk about a thing called 2 deep. And 2 deep basically means if you can build some of your leverage 2 deep, then chances are good that if you lose one of your leverage pieces, that you're not going to inherit your job. You're not going to get your job back. If you have 2 admins, like you will be here in the lead area, then if you lose an admin, you've got another admin there while you work to get another admin in place. So 2 deep is always kind of nice. This area is 4 to 6 agents. That's $1 million to 1.5. Your dollar per hour goes up to 100 to 250, and your 40 to 50 hours. So you're starting to drop back down. This area here, how do I help my team members get ahead? You establish a culture and a cadence that's critical, and then basically 2 admins, 4 to 6 agents. The exit strategy is where you start working on building a recruiting machine where you're recruiting more people into your team. 1.5 to 2 million, your dollar per hour is 250 or 500. You're working 30 to 40 hours. You're succeeding through others, and you're starting to learn how to trust. How do I grow transformational leaders? Because you want other people to start taking over where you leave off. Systems for client care, lead gen, sales, elevating opportunities, and sales leaders. You have an ops manager. You have 3 admins, 6 to 8 agents. And then you move into the area of the ownership where you're 2 to 3 million plus in volume. You're $500 to $1,000 an hour. Next week, there's a gentleman coming, Steve Ross. He doesn't like to work for anything under $1,000 an hour. So he will actually teach you how to become a consultant and you know, command those higher levels of dollar per hour. You're only working 20 to 30 hours a week. You're comfortable with the agents, management staff. You have more discomfort because you're becoming an owner, but you're also starting to leverage and give more tasks and things to everybody else. You're kind of stepping back out of the process. Keller Williams has a thing that's a 7th level model. Anybody heard about that? Okay, does anybody know what the 7th level is?
You open branches in other places. You can have someone delegate your own branch and you open other branches.
Okay.
Right.
The hire a CEO,
And you,
take up the other.
and you basically step out of it. Okay, so is Gary Keller a 7th level business? No.
Right.
That's why he's still CEO, or was CEO, and that's why he's still there, and that's why he keeps coming back into it. Because Gary himself will say that I'm not even 7th level. So basically, but it's true. I mean, the idea of 7th level is to get to a point where you can step out, somebody else is managing your business for you. But he still says that you still want to know what's going on. So if you still want to know what's going on, you haven't quite gotten all the way there, but you're as close as you can get. I mean,
It almost feels funny to think that you would ever be in a spot where you're just like, just send me the check.
correct, correct. In
Always
fact,
gotta
look at
know.
your investments, things like that. I mean, do you ever look at them, or do you just figure, nah, they'll be all right? Right. No, you always got to kind of put an eyeball in there. Gary says that as you learn, there's this line, and it gets up top, close to the top, and maybe it starts to, get closer and closer to the top, but it can never touch. You're always going to be trying to find a way to do things better. Okay, so any questions on any of this? Who wants to get here? Okay, who wants to get here? Oh, you want to get both? Okay, you're working your way up here. What about here? Yeah, and then here, here, and here. Now, how many people are in here? Raise your hand. Okay, and how many people are in ramp? Raise your hand. Excellent, good. Okay, well, you're on your way to build and leave and exit and then up. Yeah. So this is just kind of a quick, easy synopsis I kind of like because it tells you a little bit about what that journey is going to look like. Some people want to stay here. Some people would like to get here. Those kind of things. I think the furthest that I've gotten was probably like right in here, but we didn't show those kind of numbers necessarily when we were there. I mean, we had 15 total people at one point in time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how you start a business, because the important thing about a business is that you set it up in such a way where you have benefits for tax purposes, where you have some dislocation from yourself with regards to liabilities and things like that. Does anybody know what a limited liability company is? Please.
Limited liability company is a company that's set up to set a layer of protection around themselves from the business, from their personal property, in kind of in a nutshell, right? So you're separating the two and building an entity that is the business instead of you being sole proprietor, you being the business, potentially having any kind of backlash.
So if I want to sue the entity, can I also sue you?
No.
Okay.
You can do it so in person.
Yes.
if they made some mistakes, right?
No, see, that's the funny thing that people have about LLC. LLC originally was set up, let's say, for example, a doctor has a practice with 5 other doctors. So now you're an entity, but you have 5 owners to the entity. So there's a malpractice suit or something like that. Somebody have a question? No? Okay. Anyway, so basically there's a malpractice suit or whatever because some doctor made a mistake. So now the entity itself could be a party to that claim, but only the personal assets of the doctor, that particular one that made the mistake, could actually be seeked in that claim as well. But the other 4 partners would not necessarily be able to be individually named. If the LLC only has 1 owner and they're a sole proprietor type owner of that LLC, then yes, they have personal liability in it. For taxation purposes, though, it has some other benefits as well, yes.
So one guy's a sole proprietor and he has 4 employees under the LLC. The guy at the top is still responsible for those employees.
Well, yeah, because now you've hired them inside of the LLC and you're the sole owner of the LLC. Anything happens with the LLC, you're the only guy that can go to. So if it's set up, in such a way where there's partners, then that's where some of the personal liability can be delegated out to different people based on whatever the claim is.
What if the partners are married?
Then I think what happens there, and that's a really bigger conversation than what we're going to do today, but those things can be set up in what's called a trust. And there's sometimes based upon who has the highest level of risk, they would then be set up in the trust with the least amount of ownership. So that if they ever try to go off of this person here, they would say, well, you have to go through her, and she's obviously not going to agree to allow you to do that to me because she's the majority voter. And so there's stuff like that. There's ways to take your assets and disperse them in such a way where the person that holds the highest risk has the least attachment to the assets. So in a marriage situation, it's the way that that's set up. Yeah, and there are people that charge a good amount of money to set those things up, and I know who they are. And they are the ones that can give you a deep dive in such a way where if you ever got sued for a claim that was a very expensive claim, and they say, well, we want you to come to court and prove your assets, you basically can say to them, well, I don't have anything, so good luck. And I'll show you on paper how you can't get to anything because they're not mine. And then they basically go to court and they just find out on the deposition that they're not going to get anywhere because there's no money that's attached to this person. It's attached to the person with the least amount of risk. Yeah, so that's kind of the shell game thing. If you want to get deep, if you're making a ton of money and you've got a private jet and stuff like that, you set up those kind of things. And you have to make sure that the partner that you're with, you don't expect they're ever going to ditch you because they own most of everything. That's kind of how I
Question, you said, can you be sued if you have an LLC? Is that what you said?
Well, basically the question was, do you have personal liability or can they only go after the entity? So if you're the sole owner of the entity, yes, you have personal liability. You have personal liability in an entity with multiple people as well, and only in the event that you're the one that made the mistake. That's kind of how limited liability is limited to the parties inside of the agreement that may have made a mistake. See what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not sure if they only are allowed to sue their portion of their ownership inside the entity or what it is that way. But I know that the liability, if you're the sole owner of your entity, you're in there just like anybody else.
But your personal assets are protected, right?
No. I mean, if they need to get, well, but here's the other thing. We're going to talk about, well, on single people,
Yeah.
no, they can get you. People seem to think that I set up an LLC, I do everything under the LLC, and I can screw up really good over here, but they can only sue the LLC.
No, I don't mean that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, who has the license, the entity or you, for real estate? I mean, you do. Yeah, and I mean, if they're a doctor, who's the doctor? I mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so that's kind of what it is. But limited liability, it limits the liability if there's more than one partner, what the particular situation is that ends up in court. Because I can explain that myself, because I looked at it and thought, oh, okay, I'll shelter it all in there. Also looked at 2 degrees of separation by creating parent entities. and then basically funneling money up into the parent entity so that I have 2 degrees of separation that they can only go to me or the one right above me, but they can't hit the company at the top. And that's where you hold all your money. So there's other ways to do all those things, but to get down to the nitty gritty of the legal aspects of it, I mean, I would just say, talk to your attorney, right? But I've had it explained to me that way, and that's kind of what I'm doing. Helping explain to me. So all my filings are held in Arizona. So I've got all my entities held in Arizona. I have an attorney tax preparer that does all my stuff for me. I have a bookkeeper, everything else, and then they just basically send the info down there, and I don't really do much there. Other entities that I own, investments, things like that, or whatever, I've been doing those. So when it comes tax time, I'm busy with the other part, but the real estate piece is pretty much on autopilot. So it pretty much kind of runs itself, and it basically funnels the information to the people that I have working for me on those areas. They also hold my entities in the law firm. So they've got them over there as well.
What do you mean you hold them at the law firm, like the agency?
So they're my representatives. So if anybody had a problem with anything that I'm doing, I would just tell them where to send it.
Okay.
And then I would deal with it, and they'll take care of it. They'll charge me an hourly rate or whatever.
You have to pay the Arizona tax because they have a state tax if you have to make a profit on the real estate side.
I don't send anything to Arizona with regards to money because I work as a foreign entity in the state of Washington. But my entities are all, they were originated in Arizona because of their what do you want to say, less restrictive entity, like Delaware corporations, things like that. That's why they say Delaware is probably one of the friendliest. Arizona and one other state, I'm not recollecting which state it was, were also close to as friendly. Plus, I had all my people in Arizona doing this stuff, so that's where I set up my entity.
You don't have to pay the Arizona tax because
Any tax in Arizona, no.
the money doesn't flow into that.
The money doesn't go there. It starts in here. We don't have an income tax for the state. Okay. Yeah. Does Arizona have an income tax for the state? Yes. They have income tax. Yeah. And I don't make any profit in Arizona, so that's probably why I don't pay anything. And I think the law firm, I think they pay the taxes down there from the money I give them for profit. Okay. You know what I mean?
How expensive is this set of setting? You might not.
It's as far as the law firm, I think I probably give them about maybe $2,500 a year. You know what I mean? And they just kind of hold it. They do my taxes, all the other stuff. But if I'm needing them for a situation or whatever, then that money can increase. Otherwise, that's probably about what I pay them yearly to do all the things that I have them do.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable. What it basically was really what I pay them to do 5 personal and entity taxes, like that. And then there's sometimes what you can do as well is you can bundle a bunch of properties under one entity. Have you ever heard of that? Oh, yeah. You can bundle a bunch of properties, but then you have to individually remove those properties out of those entities if you're going to sell them.
Okay, so like a deed side from the quick claim deed side is more complex.
Well, I'm trying to remember the exact name of it or whatever. We did it one time, but then we didn't like it because it was too difficult bringing things in and bringing things out and that type of thing. Okay, but it's basically it's a shared entity among mutual property, that kind of thing. And then when you're pulling them out, you have to separate them from the entity so the entity has, let's say it's 8 properties. Remove one, now you have 7, but this thing has to sit by itself. And it creates other little issues with regard to moving it out, the value of the entity, and all the other stuff. But those guys do that, so I don't really know how that works. And if I come up with a name, I'll let you know what.
Yeah, I think we could invite them for a session if possible, like online session. No,
You can get them come up here. You can call them.
He's asking.
What's that?
What's he asking? Because I can't hear back here.
Okay, so basically what Wade is asking is how that works and whether or not we could get those people on these multiple entity type things or whatever. If we get those people come up here and talk about it, right? Yeah. And if we can't afford that, okay, yeah. Get them on a plane, put them in a hotel, and put them in front of us. You could, yeah. But the hard thing is, it's even hard enough for me to get. I mean, it's difficult. Okay. Yeah, they're pretty busy. I mean, I could ask Evan if he would do it. He's the attorney that, he's actually in California. His firm is in Arizona. Yeah. I could ask him, you know, if he would do something like that to talk to you about it. I mean, but he's a pretty busy guy and it's pretty expensive. So, but I'll find out. I mean, I'll ask. I'm giving you guys contact information for all these people.
That's good.
Yeah. So you'll be able to reach out. You won't be able to reach out to Evan, but you'll be able to call the front desk and see if you want to set things up. Anyway, so this is my, this document here. I think if I click on that, it'll open it all up. So this entity here was, let's see, I'm going to see if there's a date in here. November 16, 2016. So basically I had to change my company name because of the fact that the Department of Licensing doesn't like the name realty or real estate in your name of your company that you use as an entity, because they makes you look like you're a firm. And because they don't want you to look like a firm, then you have to use something else. See, my company name was always the Expert Real Estate. And then the Department of Licensing had a time where they were just going after anybody that had named real estate, realty, and other things in their name. Plus, the other thing was that I was going national, so I was looking to open in other states. I was opening in Texas and Georgia and stuff like that. And so what I was trying to do is find a way that I could have a name that wouldn't get me in an issue with other states if I had that on there. But nationally, real estate or realty, unless I'm a firm, they don't like it unless you're in a assumed name. And in order to be an assumed name, you have to find that there isn't somebody like you. So somebody had the name like me, even though mine is trademarked and patented. They had a name like that, so the Department of Licensing said, we won't give you the assumed name. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Mine, they're violating my trademark. Anyhow, so I went with Hewitt Property Group, and then that became effective on January 1st, 2017. Also, and Gary, the funny thing too was when we were talking about expansion, Gary was talking about the fact that you should have a name that isn't associated with you, so that way when you want to sell the company in the future, anybody can pick it up and run with it because it doesn't have your name. And I thought, wow. I said, well, that's a great idea. Okay. So then I went that route and I was doing that and so forth. And next thing you know, he comes out, he says, you know what? He goes, yeah, you should have your name in there. And I'm like, wait a minute, really? And I'm like, what? You know, and then he's like, well, look at me. I have, Keller Williams. I mean, I have my name in there. And then I'm like, oh, it's just, it was kind of a path to figure out exactly how expansion was really going to work. So anyway, but mine ended up being Hewitt Property Group. And then I made it effective on January 1st, 2017. And then this is everything that was filed with Arizona and so forth to get it to go. These are documents and things that are filled out by your legal office or whoever does this for you. And then it just shows my place of business address to be Chandler, Arizona, which is actually the same address of the law firm that does all this stuff for me. And then signed by me, and then signed by them. And then Levi is my representative in Arizona, and he signed it and submitted it, and it was all approved. Yes, please.
So when you say sell, you can sell your LLC with all these properties. You had 8 properties.
Well, that's a different one. So I have an entity that has my investment properties, and then I have this entity that has my real estate business. And then I had separate entities where I had partnerships on other business entities as well, and stuff like that. But yes, I mean, you can sell your ownership, just like our firm right here is an entity. And at certain points in time, there's potential for a sale if somebody gets old enough that they want to retire or something else.
You can buy the part, you can buy your part that you own, and you can buy properties in that too.
As far as buying the part that if I have an entity set up with multiple properties under it or whatever, and I want to sell that entity and it enjoys those properties under it, yes, you can sell percentages of that if I wanted to. Just like some of the, what are those shared things where you can buy into real estate through shared things where you buy a portion of that entity that actually has property? What's it called? Huh?
Well, real estate investment trust companies, but they're,
Stuff like that, yeah.
yeah, they're doing those in Arizona where you can buy a portion of a house.
Well, they're also doing these other things where they're going to buy like that big apartment building, and they're going to rehab the units, and they're going to increase the value and raise the rent and so forth. And then they're going to turn around and sell it, and people can kind of finance that through these separate little entities.
These shares.
Yeah, each shares. Okay, yeah, because there's some great ones out there. I mean, I know some people that do that, and they're in Florida and Texas, the ones that I know. And every once in a while, they'll throw one across my desk, and if I like it, I may throw some money at it and see if it gives me the return they're promising. Sometimes, you can double your money in maybe 3 to 5 years. Yeah. But if they're a good, reputable one, I mean, it makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to do this, I think. Am I right? Okay, and then you're going to have to set up an operating agreement. And again, I have the legal firm set up my operating agreement, and basically, okay, so I'm actually, excuse me, it was in 2017. It was January 1st, 2016 that I made the entity an actual functioning entity. And then this comes through and tells you the formation, the capitalization of the company, the rights and duties of the manager, and so forth. You become the managing member if it's a sold entity, if you own it yourself. Most of the entities that I have, I do own myself. In fact, I purchased a property using I commingled some of my funds to purchase the property or whatever, and then what I had to do is I had to actually transfer it into the entity so I could turn around and sell it and make the profit inside the entity so that I don't pay any personal income tax on the benefits. Funny thing is we were worried about the fact that they would ask for an excise tax if my wife and myself sent it over to the entity. Then we find out that a spouse can quit claim to the other spouse. Then I'm the sole owner of the entity. I can quit claim it into the entity. I was good to go. So I had to do 2 deed transfers in order to spin the property inside the entity without paying any kind of tax for the excise tax in the state of Washington. Yeah, I mean, you're always trying to figure out how to do it. Don't do anything real fast. Think about it because quit claim deeds are bigger than what you think. In other words, the person says, "Oh, well, I just want to give my interest to you, so I'll just quit claim." Hold on a minute. Have a deeper conversation about it, because if it triggers any kind of tax liability or anything else like that or whatever, maybe not the right path to go. So slow down before you speed up, I guess would be the way to say that. Anyway, so these are the articles of incorporation, or no, excuse me, these are the operating agreement for the company. And it just comes through with a bunch of stuff that's pretty much standard. But when you look at it, you can decide. It talks about paying me a salary. That's kind of one of the neat benefits of an entity, is how you pay yourself. Because in real estate, as a sole proprietor and just paying yourself that way, if you're making a lot of money, you're paying the Social Security at a higher rate all the way until it ends. And what is that, 250,000? Or there's a certain point where it caps. Then you don't necessarily pay it anymore.
I think for Social Security, you have 2 portions. One is 6%, which caps at $160,000. The other one is 1%, which caps at $250,000.
Okay, so there you go. So the 160 is 6%. So so that basically, you have to find a salary for yourself that you believe that you could pay somebody else to do your job. So they basically say that should be your salary. And some people say it's 80,000. Some people say it's 40,000. Some people say it's 60,000. Whatever that number is, that's what you're paying yourself. That's what your Social Security comes off of. In the event if it's 60,000, and Way is talking about 160,000 at 6%, then 100,000 at 6%, $6,000 that you're not paying if you're doing it inside of an entity. Although when you retire, your Social Security could be a little leaner because you're not paying in a larger amount if you get Social Security when you retire at all.
That's like, yeah.
Exactly.
Take it while you can get it now.
Take it while you can get it. Well, and then I've actually listened to, take it early, take it late. And they really, and there's also some other things that caveat on top of that, which is whether or not your spousal gets the spousal benefits inside Social Security. If you take it at 62, I think is the earliest or something like that. then there's no spousal benefits. So if something happened to you, they're not picking up your tab on the other end for your spouse. So, and I think 65 or 66, whatever that age is, the actual retirement age, then from then on out, I think those spousal benefits are there. Cost of living increases, stuff like that. By the time you get there, if you take it at 72, they calculate it based on life expectancy, that it's the better payout if you wait. But other people go, nah, I'm gonna take it now because I may not get it. You want to lock it in? You know, that's up to you. Okay, so this one right here is the Department of the Treasury. So this is, I believe, me filing as or this is actually just giving me notice of my EIN number. So this is basically me filing the entity with the IRS. The IRS coming back and saying, we'll recognize your entity under this number. And then this is just the paperwork coming back from the IRS.
And that number becomes very important for you when you start opening bank accounts and doing all the other things that you start trying to attach with the business.
Yes, correct.
I did everything completely backwards. I went to the bank first. They were like, no, you need to get this number. So I went to the
And then you
treasurer. I had to work all the way backwards to come all the way back forward. So this is a great first step.
Well, and the cool thing about hiring somebody to do it for you is that they know what they're doing, and so they'll do it in the sequence that needs to happen. Because in the state of Washington, in order to work from an entity that is listed in Arizona, I have to gain foreign entity status in the state of Washington. And so what they're looking for is this, what's called a certificate of good standing. So this basically says that I don't owe somebody, I'm not in court, there's nothing wrong with my entity, everything's good. And this, along with paperwork, is submitted with the state of Washington to show them that I can act as a foreign entity. So anyway, so any questions on that? Okay, because if you had a Delaware corporation or a Delaware entity, LLC or something like that, then basically they would want a certificate of good standing for Delaware so that you could operate inside the state of Washington.
So I 100% agree. If I had to go back and do this over again, without a doubt, I would hire somebody else to do it. Just they're fast, they're efficient, they know which steps to go through. Mine was a complete mess nightmare. It was terrible. Who did you decide to go to? Was it an attorney or a CPA?
Nielsen.
Or
Yeah, Evan Nielsen. Yeah.
So that's probably the best. If anybody wants to do this, probably pick out a good attorney. They can set up the LLCs and entities and just let them get the dominoes set up for them.
And the reason I went to them is because a lot of the high level agents that are with this, not this company, but Keller Williams as a whole, I've been kind of out in different networking things with them and Austin quite a bit and all those things. And everybody was saying that Nielsen is the ones they use. These names I'm going to give you are the ones that a lot of agents used back in the day that still hold true to this day. And I use all of them still. Some people I've known have moved around. Somebody have a question? Just I thought, sometimes it sounds like they're ringing the doorbell. I'm just going to that. Hello?
If there was a order to do these in,
What would be the first order?
I would kind of
Call the attorney. I'm looking at setting up an entity. Where's the favorable state in which I want to set it up? I'm going to operate out of Washington State. What kind of paperwork do I need to do? What do you charge me? Blah, 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 blah. Would you hold it for me? What's going on? Yeah. And then, yes, please.
You have a power of attorney?
They have power of attorney to deal with the IRS. If the IRS were to raise their hand, they did go over to that.
Good. I didn't
I don't want to deal with
my
that.
CPA, and I just wanted to know if you did, because now I feel better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I did have a CPA at one point in time wanting to actually just take care of all my money and just take care of paying everything for me and all that other kind of stuff. But I was like, that's way too much control of, stuff. Because if, stuff turns up missing, it might be a while before you catch it. And then when you catch it, it's too late and it's all gone, I'm not interested in doing that because it took a while to get to where I'm at. So I have to rebuild it again. Anyway, so this is, so we got the certificate of good standing. Okay, so now foreign entity status, I didn't have a copy of it and I wasn't able to attach it here. Basically, that's only you applying for Washington to recognize that an entity, now a state entity, is doing business in this state. And then, of course, you all need a business license. And this is my business license, I think it's I don't know, I don't see a date on it. But I mean, of course, active, but this might be an older one. Yeah, this is just basically an older one, just showing you, but I have one of these that comes every year, so that I can do business. Supposed to be posted in your place of business, supposed to be alongside with your, all your employment stuff from the, employment department and all that kind of stuff, as far as what everybody's rights are and stuff like that. But if you have a staff, it's more important that that's all in there, for what they can do and what they can't do and that kind of thing. Any questions on any of that? Because we're going to talk about how you pay yourself and things like that here in a minute, but at least you see how to set up an entity, a little bit of it. I mean, like I said, I let other people do those things that are more their professionalism, just like people that are buying and selling real estate should hire a real estate agent to do it, as opposed to trying to do it themselves, because they don't have the knowledge, the know-how, and the skill and the time that it takes to do it right.
So even as you were mentioning it, I believe he was asking on the first steps, like where to go, and you said call the attorney, et cetera. Would you have a first conversation with the CPA to figure out which kind of entity, like S Corp, C Corp, things like that, to try and really dial it in before you made that call to the attorney? Because I know it gets a little funky when people hear S corporations or.
Okay, so you're not going to set it up. You're not going to basically set up an S Corp. You're going to file as an S Corp. Yeah, so you to set up a corporation, you would want to be doing business outside of the country. The only benefit to a corporation is if you're doing business outside of the country. Problem is, if you're doing business inside the country, you're getting taxed double. You tax, the corporation is taxed, and then if they pay you a salary, you're getting taxed on your salary. So it's double taxation. So corporations is probably not a good idea for what we do. But you do an entity, and then I have them file as an S Corp, but it is not an S Corp. So if somebody asks me, what do you have? And it says S Corp, LLC, blah, I go LLC, filed as an S Corp. Right. And then the thing about that is you take all your expenses and all your other stuff and everything, and anything you do business-wise. I mean, I have networking stuff that I do, which has a little bit of pleasure involved in it, but when I'm doing it, it's for networking. So it becomes a write-off from the entity, that kind of thing. Okay, so, all right. So now we're going to switch and just kind of talk about, running your business like a business. Most important thing for your business right now, of course, is who you're going to contact, who you're going to reach out to, and how you're going to do business, right? Your database. And they say your database is your business, and your business is your database. So here is something that's helpful if you want to scan the QR code to help you build a database if you don't already have a database. And so I'll give you guys a moment to scan that QR code, and it just gives you a list of people that you may know that you may forget to kind of, categorize in this manner and start filling them in. There are certain teams that the way they work is if you want to get on board their team as one of their agents, you need to show up with a minimum of 100 of these people. And as long as you have their names, if you have an address for some, a phone number for some, an email for some, they can build the rest of it. But you can't start working until you show up with at least 100 people that you know. Because most of where your good business is going to come from your warm connections, people that already know, love, and trust you. And it just talks about who's your dentist, who's your children's dentist, who's your doctor, your spouse's doctor, your children's doctor, your dermatologist, your taxes, your grass, your landscaping, your repair, who's your trainer, who's your children's teacher, who's your kids' coaches, friends' parents, close friends. Who was at your wedding? Who sold you your car? Yeah.
Just so you guys know, that's under the Dave Hook thing, and because you put a huge amount of great information on that QR code, but it's under the Dave Hook.
Oh,
That's yes, thank you. Because I haven't looked at that manual made the QR, but
A whole bunch of great stuff to that QR code.
it's basically putting everything that's in the presentation other than my own personal things, correct?
I don't know, I'm looking at your IRS filing right here, I'm just kidding.
That's where we get too far. Yeah, and then look at this. Who's your pharmacist? Who's your life insurance agent? Who's your tax preparer, accountant? Who's your pet sitter? Who lives on either side of you? Who lives across the street? I mean, you start building a list I mean, look how many you got here. This is really the way to go. People who are decision makers, business owners, human resource directors, office managers. Do you know anyone living in the following states? This, something people don't know about Keller Williams. We're one of the few companies that became their own IDX. And by becoming an IDX means basically your MLS listings data provider kind of thing. We became an IDX for the reason that your website with Keller Williams, if I want to look for a property in Florida, I can go on there and find all the listings in Florida.
Whereas France, you can look at.
Whereas France, you can go and look. So when I was in the strategic planning committee in 2015, it was me, Steve Murray with Real Trends. Jimmy Lennox was in there with me, Dustin, a bunch of other high-level MLS people and so forth. We were sitting trying to figure out where in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years the MLS was going to go. And I was all about a national MLS. I was always saying, how are we going to get a national MLS? And Jay Lennox didn't like it, only because they're not national, but we're national. And I was all about it. And I thought, if people go to my website, I want to be able to search for property anywhere. Because if they say, can you give me more information on this property in Florida? I want to hook them up with a partner agent in Florida so that there's a referral business there. And we'll talk about some of that stuff here when we go a little bit further in like the 135 GPS and 411s and stuff like that. But yeah, it's important to know. Do you know anybody in any of the other states? The other thing about expansion was that if you have people or a state or a location that you seem to be getting a lot of business from, then you start thinking about a partner agent in that location. And then you have an expansion partner you can all of a sudden start bringing into your group in another state. Mine, of course, was Dallas, Texas area. And at the pinnacle of our growth, I think we had 8 people working in Dallas in real estate over there for my company up here. But that was the hub because it was better for time-wise. It was an hour short of the East Coast and 2 hours ahead of over here. So somebody could be over there working early and be able to cover the East Coast and the West Coast, that kind of thing. Anyway, so this is a really good piece of information here as well. And then business planning. You've got your 411 and your 135. Anybody heard of these tools before? Raise your hand if you've heard of them. Hey, raise your hand if you haven't heard of them. Okay, so some people's hands aren't working. Okay, so let's try an exercise real quick to get you guys moving. All right, so raise your hand as high as you can. Okay, raise it as high as you can. Okay, raise it a little higher. Obviously, you didn't raise it as high as you could. Gotcha. All right. Okay, so here's the 135. I love that. See, that's called a stretch goal.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, so goal priority strategy 135. So it's you have one major goal, and you have 3 priorities and 5 strategies in each one of those goals. What might be a goal that you could have up here? And they call them SMART goals because they're specific, measurable, actionable, those kind of things. What would be a goal that might go up here? Anybody?
Unit numbers or income.
Stuff like that. How much you want to make, how much you want to sell, that kind of thing. So you stick your major goal in here, and then you find out your 3 priorities, kind of like your big rocks that are going to help you achieve that goal. So what might be one of the priorities? What do you guys do for a living out here? Well, I mean, what do we need more of right now? Listings. I mean, the first one might be listings and how you're actually going to help achieve that goal through listings. And then what might be priority 2? Buyers. And now your buyer listings or whatever. How am I going to achieve the goal in priority number 2? And then priority number 3, there's 4 here, and number 5, I don't know why, but anyhow, KW maps. So they've got a 4 and a 5. Huh, strange. It used to only be 3, but that's why we call it a 135. This looks like a 155. And then some people have a thing called a 1355. Yeah, and that basically
Hyper-focus.
Hyper-focus, where you're going in each one of these strategies and you're nailing down exactly how that works. I mean, they could all be levers, and then you're showing how those levers actually can go.
Splitting up the hours in the day almost.
Pretty much. I mean, if you're, like Gary says, you know, he goes, I know how busy you are and how your business is by looking at your calendar. So show me your calendar. Show your calendar, and he goes, oh, you're not very busy, are you? You know, and basically, if your calendar is all blocked off and you got your thing, I mean, you know, my part is I don't want to get to the point where my family has to be on the calendar. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get away from that, but that is it. I mean, when you're booking your calendar for next year, what's the first thing you put on there?
Vacation.
Family, yeah, family, vacation, whatever, exactly. Yes, that's the number one priority, right? And so it's funny because most people would go, oh, my lead generation. No, you gotta. So really, if you're gonna do your numbers, you're gonna do them over how many months? 10. Because you're gonna want 1 month of education and 1 month of vacation. So your numbers have to get hit under 10 months because you want to have time for yourself, right? Otherwise, you're going to be married to the job, and the job's not going to be married to you, right? That's when somebody else controls your schedule, and you don't control your own schedule. You know, some agents will say, "I work 24/7." Like, oh, sorry to hear that. I had somebody that say, "I work." You know, I just heard Mitch come over here and say that he kind of tries to work on the lower. You know, he works maybe 4 to 5 hours in the office, might have a couple of hours appointments outside. But if that's 6 hours, 6 times 5 is 30. You know, he's at a place where he feels comfortable there, but he also figures what he's going to squeeze into that 6 hours is going to be beneficial stuff, right? Speaking of Mitch, did you hear your name? We're just talking about you. His ears were going. My ears are good. Yeah, we were talking about when you're working less hours, like maybe 6 hours or something like that. You have to be purposeful about what you're putting in those hours. So basically, you know, if somebody's going to, you know, hey, can I get an hour of your time? You're going to have to say, you know, am I going to get the benefit I'm looking for out of spending that hour there, or should I be spending it somewhere else? Some people say if it's not hell yes, it's a no. That may be the way to look at that, right? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so here's your goal priority strategies. Number 3, what might be number 3? We just talked about something a moment ago.
Networking.
Or basically referrals, right? I mean, if you can get your business off the list of buyers and referrals, great. What could be priority number 4 to help you get to a certain income that you're looking for?
Rental properties.
Okay.
Furnaces.
Investments.
Yeah.
Okay. What might be number 5 if you're trying to get there? What about passive income?
Passive income.
Profit share. Want to get your unfair share? Get some of the profit share. So what agents did I just work with? How can I tee them up for Tracy to bring them in and recruit them? So there you go. I mean, there's 5 right away that can help you get to whatever your income level is that you're looking for. And how many people in here have been mapped by our office? Raise your hand. Excellent. Okay. And if you haven't, you should, because they do it quarterly and it's awesome. And it basically kind of helps figure out what you like doing and use those as your leverage to grow your business. Okay. And then the next part of this is called a 411. I'm thinking that'll work. Okay, here we go. Okay, so 411 is basically your annual goals, your monthly goals, and your weekly goals. And so, and it's in your job, in your business, in your personal financial, and your personal life. So, and then you fill them out monthly. What am I looking to accomplish in this month to get me to my annual goals? And then you break it down weekly. A lot of agents on a Sunday will sit down and they'll go over what it is that they think they need to do in order to meet their monthly goal, which will help them get to their annual goals. There's lead and lag measures. Have you ever heard those terms? Lead and lag measure. Okay. So a lag measure is like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. So that's a lag measure. What's the lead measure? I'm going to do, I'm going to walk on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day, or I'm going to do X amount of steps, or I'm going to spend an hour in the gym, or whatever. So that's the lead measure. Forget about the lag measure. That'll show up if you do the lead measure, right? So if you do the things, if you do the dialing, you're going to get X amount of appointments. You don't lead with how many appointments am I going to get? That's basically a lag. You need to do the activities to get to the lag measure. There's a book called Lead and Lag, I think, and it basically kind of explains it that way. So it's really cool because it's dialing you into the activity that you need to do in order to get the results that you're looking for. And Results are the lab. The important thing is the lead measures that you're doing to get there. So, and when you fill this out, you don't fill it out ahead of time. You don't fill out all 4 weeks. And then you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do this week. This is what I'm going to do next week. You fill it out as you go. So you fill this out saying, okay, this coming week, this is what I'm going to do for my job goal, my business goal, my personal financial goals, and my personal goals. And then what you don't get done, where does it go? Trash can? It goes into next week. So when you get done, if you struck out a bunch of these and you say, look, I did that, this, that, and the other thing, well, what you didn't do gets transferred over to the next week. And then you add other items that will help you to accomplish the monthly goal that you set out for that month. And those goals monthly together at the end of 12 should hopefully get you here. If it doesn't, what happens with those? They go next year. They become goals that you're looking for next year. If you did a 1% improvement on yourself every day at the end of a year, how much is the percentage of improvement that you improved? 365%? You know, compounds. Every time you do 1%, the next 1% is that little bit greater because you've already gained 1% the day previous. So it's compound. Does anybody know what exponential is? It's nonlinear, right? Exponential growth is when you're on a path to growth, but you get so far out that it just goes dimensional like that, and you get exponential growth. You start growing in all areas around you in different directions. It's pretty big because Gary always talks about the hockey stick. Everything happens slowly and then suddenly. So if you're doing those activities, it may take a little bit, but once it hits, it takes off, and you know you better be ready for the ride. That's why he says think big. Because in order to get, you have to start small, but you need to know that when it goes big, that you can get there. Okay. Any questions on that? Any of that?
Coach to that too, so if anybody wants clarification on that, let us know.
Okay. All right. So, and like I said, all those tools are available for you to use. I want to make sure. All right. So now we have the economic model, the budget model, and then we put the economic and budget model together for you to plan your business, where you want to go, that kind of thing. And I'll show you an example of like a profit and loss that I have. So here's your basic formula that you can put together. Your listing appointments, your buyer appointments, your conversion rate, and so forth, brings you down to your total gross revenue, cost of sales, operating expense, and net income. Typically, what you do is you start with the end in mind.
Yeah, right there, economic models.
Yeah. And right here, here's an economic model for somebody that wants to net $1 million. It says that they need to bring in $2.4 million in order to net $1 million. And why is that? How much is profit on this model? Without, if you know it, don't say it, because I know what it is, and everybody else that reads the MREA does. But what does anybody want to put a guess out there? What do you think profit should be in this model? Okay. All right, I'll tell you. Well, maybe I'll let Tracy tell you.
No, you go, Mark.
Okay. Oh, because you forgot.
We play with that number when we map people because it's all digitized, but we believe it's a higher number in terms of MREA, yeah, because of our price points and things like that.
So what does Tim Heil bring in for profit on his economic model?
In terms of the percentage?
Yeah.
Well, are you gonna say like 64% or?
Tim?
Yeah.
Like 6%, 8%.
Really?
Yeah. No, well, that's the problem because it's big, right? Yeah. So the problem is when you know, like some people are pumping pumping money out to these. I mean, I know there's some people that you know pump out $1 million for lead generation, for revenue and that kind of thing, but they're spending the money to get there, and they've got a crew, and sometimes they're paying an hourly to sit there on the dialer. I mean, they've got a boiler room going on, and I mean that goes on all the time. The problem is that as teams got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, they found that the expenses got higher and higher, and the profit got smaller. And so, you know, the question is, red light, green light. Can we talk about that? You know, you hold your expenses accountable. You need to know your numbers. You need to know your ROI is where you want it to be. I think there was a time, what was it? We wanted four times ROI. And then I think nowadays we're kind of at 10 times ROI. I mean, we'd love to see 10 times ROI on our investments.
I think what that is too, Mark, is there's different businesses and real estate models that the owner of that entity or business wants a life. So some of them are okay with getting that percentage of profit off of that business model, just because it's what they want. You know, to me, running a big business and getting a small percentage of profit necessarily, but if you're not there, if you don't exist within that model and you're just collecting the checks, that's another story.
Right. So you're correct in that. Yeah. That is if they can step out of that thing.
Yeah.
If that thing's running over here, I mean, because you know, it's like a machinery that's moving, all the moving parts. One bolt comes out, falls in between another gear, and the other thing, it just jams up and falls. It could be expensive, right? I mean, because I know there've been times with some of these big teams when the market shifted and stuff like that, that they're pulling out of their reserves and everything, just pumping it into the business just to get through the time, and they're not making any profit at all. So I mean, big machines are expensive to maintain and probably can create a lot of stress. Yes.
So what do you think the healthy profit?
Well, I think, this is 40% here. So basically it says that your cost of sales should be 30% and your expenses should be 30%. Your cost of sales is typically, if you have a buyer's agent, it's basically the money that you're spending to have somebody else working aside of your business. And then your other 30% is like your admin, your marketing costs, your lead gen, all those other kind of things.
This is, I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No, please do.
This is exactly what our digitized economic model is for map day.
Yeah.
And it literally takes you, if you haven't been mapped, have it get mapped, because you put in the number in there and we can digitize it for you in like less than 10 minutes.
And the other thing that's important too is if you don't have a buyer's agent and you haven't created a big team, your profit's going to be higher because you're not paying those things. But your income isn't going to make it because you're only good for X amount of hours per week, right? The only way to get 80 hours out of you is to hire somebody else, or you work 7/12s and you get 84. But that's it, and that's leverage, right? Because what's Gary's model, which is the first thing he writes most of the time if you're in a meeting with him over there in Austin, he will put the triangle up here and you'll be like, I've seen that. I already know what it is. And he goes, what's the first one? And you go, leads. And what's the next one? Listings. And what's the next one? Leverage. Once you, and lead with revenue is another conversation that they have in Keller Williams. Basically, don't start spending money unless you've got money coming in. I mean, otherwise, find other ways to do it. And again, you know, Stephen Ross next week will be a really good one for people that are looking for different ways to do it, as well as the mindset to get around, you know, basically being an advisor. Advisors make the most money. Salespeople actually are down in the lower platform of his chart that show that they make the least amount of money. Your mindset needs to be different. You need to be helping people with value and help them get to where they're going. The more people that you can benefit, the more benefit that you'll receive from it. If you're out for yourself, then you have that thing they call commission breath. They can smell it and they don't use you. Okay, so anyway, so this is basically the formula. It shows you kind of how that works, gives you an individual exercise that you can do, and these are all in those attachments that we have. And you work kind of with the end in mind. You figure out, you know, how much am I looking to sell? How many units do I want to do? What's my conversion for each one of these? And then basically you work your way backwards until you finally get how many contacts, how many dials, that kind of thing. How many appointments get me to how many listings, get me to how many buyers, get me to how many that close. And you work your way onward until you figure out exactly how you're going to get there. And then you hold yourself accountable to those tasks daily that you want to get there. Questions on any of that?
Typically boils down to something simple like 20 contacts a day.
Here's the deal. It's simple. It's just not easy. And the thing that you have to do is all the stuff you don't want to do, right? I mean, I could give you a list of stuff I don't want to do. And this weekend behind me, I was doing it. But it's getting me to where, you know, I needed to get it. It's just kind of a punishing thing. Basically what has to happen is when you're ready for your leverage, those are the pieces you leverage. You need to write a list of all the stuff you just totally don't want to do. And then you write the list of the stuff you want to do. And you hire all the stuff you don't want to do. You leverage it to somebody else. The Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. You know, 80% of the agents are going to make 20% of the business. 20% of the agents are going to make 80% of the business. Why? Because they're doing all the things that others don't want to do, and they're doing it consistently and effectively over time. And they're always working to get better at it. I had a coach that he's down in California, in San Diego or whatever, and he sends me stuff every once in a while. And I always read his stuff because it's just more, you know, pumping on your gut. And basically the last time he says, you know, this R&D thing, everybody know what R&D is?
Duplicate.
Okay, well, you have the answer, but I look at how research and development, but rip off and duplicate. And he basically said, you know what, he goes, well, that's the easy way. He goes, yeah, and he goes, the problem is you don't understand how they got there. And the problem is if something goes wrong, you won't know how to fix it because you took somebody else, you took the easy road. He said the easy road is right, but understanding is more important because when it's time to pivot or something goes wrong, you need to know how to get there. And he also said the achievers, they're uncomfortable and they're scared to death all the time. Why? Because they always know they need to be getting better all the time and they're never satisfied with where they are. And so you start pumping yourself like that, your business is going to start going like, hey, you have that hockey stick. You're going to all of a sudden you're going, man, I just keep working, then all of a sudden it's going to come together for you. Very important. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I looked good. Get somebody to call me. Anyways, okay. And then we have the budget model. And the budget model is calculating your expenses, divide by 70, multiplied by 12 months, total gross income required. And then this kind of breaks down a whole bunch of different types of expenses that you might have. And this is from Market Leader, by the way. I kept it because I thought it was really good, you know, a real simplified way to kind of figure out how you want to get your business where you're at. 20 transactions times 40 prospects equals 800 prospects a year. Over 12 months, 67 prospects per month divided by 30 days, 2.5 new prospects per day. And this is basically how to get to $150,000 income goal. And prospects, I mean, 2.5, that's just talking to people. That's not even appointments. But that's getting on the, you know, having conversations with people, maybe people you don't know. But if you're doing the database thing, people you know, most of the time you should be spending with people you know because they already know you, and then seeing if you can get information and people from them. Okay, and then the economic model and budget model put together. And this puts it all together like before, and it adds the budget model. So expense breakdown, GCI 2.5, seller side 5%, 125, buyer side 6.25. So the cost of sales is $750. So this is basically an ISA right here on the seller side. Does everybody know what an ISA is? Inside sales agent. They're on the phone pounding to get you business. And then typically what they're paid, at least what we paid them, and when I had it, was $2,000 a month, 10% of any business closing. That was their bonus structure. So if they could give me 6 listings a month, 800,000, 4.8 million, 4.8 million, 3 is 120,000. Then they could make the 2 is 24, another 12, they're making 36,000 a year. If they can get me 12 a month, you know, then they're making 48,000 a year. Just depends on how many you get based on the bonus structure. Nowadays, with the cost of everything, they're probably paid a little more. Because everything's like double what it was. I used to be able to get teriyaki for $7 or whatever. I'm paying like $18 now for teriyaki. I'm like, really? Get myself a chicken and go make it at home. Total operating expenses, 30%, 750,000, and breaks it down. Compensation, salaries and benefits, professional services, lead generation, listing management, prospecting, and marketing. Brings it all the way down. Here's an expense worksheet for you. Organizational model. This is level 7. So this is you're outside of the company. Your CEO runs everything. And the CEO and the direct report to the CEO is the director of expansion, the director of lead generation, the director of operations, and the director of sales, and you. So how many should you have maximum that report to you if you're at a level like this? Let me get some guesses from you. How many people think one? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people think two? How many people think three? Okay, how many people say four? How many five? Okay, Gary Kelly says five, no more than five. And that's why he had, what was it, Mary Tennant, Mark Willis, Diana DaCosta, who else? Mo. Oh, totally Mo. And then number five, I'm trying to think. Yeah, anyways, but he got five people, and that's how he grew the business to where it was at. And did he ever fail? Yes. He did expand at one point in time and found out he was in business with the wrong people and quickly got rid of that and then worked on it again until he finally got, and Mo is the one that I think, got him to grow to the highest degree like crazy. Anyways, but then this talks about an expansion business and the rest of it. But you're mostly out of it, except you're certainly getting, your direct report is the CEO, making sure that everything's running the way it is. And that's kind of why Gary says that at true seventh level, you're still involved in the business. You're not out of it. You haven't stepped away from it. That's why the line is still connected. The line was disconnected, it would mean you're just reaping the paychecks from it, but you need to know what's going on there. Know your numbers, right? Okay, beyond the 7 recruiting sources, ads, allied resources, so forth. Recruiting is important. In fact, like some of the coaches that I've worked with in the past or whatever, recruiting is their biggest thing. Basically bringing people onto your team, growing a team, but making sure that you provide enough to all those people there that they can grow their business to the level that they're interested in. And like today, you're in this class, so this office is certainly doing that for you guys, right? Helping you to grow your business. Attracting top talent. The issues between earn $1 million and net $1 million. This just kind of tells you how to get there. Okay, and now I give this to you. This is from a mastermind with Gary in Austin of last year. And these are all his sources for how you can get business broken down to what it costs, what it does, how it works, how it'll get you there. This stuff is amazingly important, and that's the reason why I'm giving it to you. And then lead flow tells you your leads, basically 100 social PPC leads, 1 closing, social PPP leads, $3 a lead, $300, 8 opportunities, 1 closing. Who would spend $300 to get a closing today? Totally, yeah. So do research some of this stuff, see if any of this will work for you. But I mean, just really high level information, and teams that work at a high level, this is the kind of information that they use. Questions? No? Too much? Fire hose?
This is all in that file you gave us, right?
Yes, it should be. That's an annual question.
Okay, good.
Because you kind of took care of putting that
Right
together.
now, great stuff.
But yeah, I mean, this is information that's hard to get unless you're sitting in the mastermind or you know somebody who loves. And masterminds with Gary are as high as you can go, I think, in this company. And he's always in mastermind with others to find out how high he can go. That's important. When you're a leader, that's how you get there, yes.
I was gonna wait till the end, but I just want to say thank you so much. There's so many gold nuggets going on here. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's high level stuff. I mean, I've got, I mean, even the Lance Loken is over in Houston or whatever and stuff, and I have his org charts and a lot of his stuff or whatever. His org charts, the funny thing, he's got org charts with blanks all over. Why? Because he has his 1, 3, 5, 10 anywhere goals. And so if you click from his org charts, you see where he thinks it needs to go in these certain places and these things he needs to fill and when he needs to fill them and so forth. By the time you get to his sometime goal, his org chart looks, like Disney, Walt Disney's thing, I have Walt Disney's map in my, or actually his little visionary thing, but I should frame his vision actually that he had for his company. If you've ever seen it, it's just a bunch of, lines going zigzag back and forth and all over the place. But it's a huge vision, and I mean, he got there, right? And I think there's people that told a lot of these people that they wouldn't get there. Well, I mean, when you're getting told more and more that you're not going to get there or you're wrong or that kind of thing, guess what? You're doing things that are scaring other people, and that's why they're talking about that. I mean, that's the same thing with even Charlie Brown or whatever. Charlie Brown, I think when he showed up with his drawings, they all told him that this is crap, it'll never go anywhere and so forth. And I mean, he made a complete, system around it and was very successful. Okay, so this is the MREA chart of accounts. It's in your MREA book. For those of you that can't see it, this basically tells you how your accounting should be done. If you work with a bookkeeper, this is your bookkeeping. I work with Streamlined Business Solutions. I met the Figlios I think it was at Mega Camp in, well, I met them in New Orleans at the Mega Camp down there, but I'd known them before then, but they were there at that one time and so forth. I've been working with them for like forever, pretty much. And they basically took this out of my hands and they send me a report so I can hold my numbers accountable, monthly, quarterly, however you want to set it up with it. They have different plans and so forth. But this tells you how MREA expects you to do it. It gives you some notes and definitions on the sidelines of what they each mean. So if you're going cost of sales, what is that? It kind of breaks down what's in the cost of sales to help you get there. Goes through all these things here. And I'll just show you one of my profit and loss statements. Everybody know where to find this in the MREA book? How many people in here have the MREA book? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people in here don't have it? Okay, Tracy. 3 people need it.
They're for sale. They're in the bookcase.
There you go. Exactly. Okay. All right. Now here's Hewitt Property Group profit and loss for December of 2021. Oops. Uh-oh.
Blew it up.
Oh, maybe that's what I did. Oh.
Oh, maybe you didn't do that one.
Go one more slide, she says.
Okay, well, here's
Is it a separate tab?
Huh?
Is it in a separate tab at the top?
No.
No.
But I'm gonna do this. Let's see here. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do for you. Okay, I'm gonna get in here to show it to you.
Y'all get out of your chairs and get closer and see it bigger.
What we're gonna do now. If you have to use the bathroom or get coffee, right now's the time to do it.
Hit the sign in box right there instead of
Up here. So it needs to be annual.
You don't know anybody else.
Thanks for this, Mark. This is so awesome because it teaches us to be salespeople, not business people. And the history of our industry wanted to keep us down in that way because it wasn't fitting within that model, right? For us to be anything other than a salesperson. So not going to business school or getting my degree in business, it's really helpful to share with everybody. Yeah, I do. I'm supposed to teach PE. Yeah, kindergartner. PE. This is gonna be a degree in business for sure.
So here's my profit and loss in 2021. Total commission income, listing side, 400,000, referrals, 30,000, buyer side, 200 grand, so 623,000. Cost of goods sold, 54,000. Let's see here, total cost of goods sold, or excuse me, 54,000, which is only 8.7%. Okay, so that was pretty impressive. So the gross profit was 569,000. Then we came down here to salaries, pretty much only my salary in here, 60 grand. And then 66,000 in salaries. I'm trying to remember. I think I was solo on this one. It was a solo income on it. And anyway, came down here to lead generation. I spent 28,000 in lead generation. Total general advertising budget. I spent internet lead generating. I spent 20,000 there. Staging. I spent 18,000 in staging. So $30,000 in general advertising. Then basically came down here. Education, I spent 17,000 on education. So, and that'd be family reunion, mega camp, masterminds, and then any stuff. I mean, I go visit with some of the top teams that sell $1 billion in real estate. I fly down and I meet the team and I do that kind of stuff and try to figure out how do they do that? What is their playbook? How do they get there? And it's pretty impressive how they do it. Usually, what 3-letter word do you think it starts with? And Tracy, I'll let you answer last, but I want to have some volunteers. What do you think the 3-letter word is that it starts with of these people that are doing $1 billion worth of real estate?
The amount of time.
Okay, that's not a 3-letter word. Time is sports. But we're trying 3. What do you think it is? That's great. I appreciate that, but I thought you might know. It's basically, what's the first person you hire? It is a who.
You.
No, it's who. It starts with their who. Most of the time, it's their who. Like for me, I'd like to get back and get an admin and start going back to the growing thing and expanding and doing all this stuff. COVID was the reason why I tailored it down because I didn't want to get sick, and I knew that if I'm out there as much as I'm usually out there, that there could be a problem or whatever. So I kind of, I pushed that away for a little bit or whatever. Now that everything's good and it's a flu anymore, I'm back out in search of the who's, right? Because the who's are the ones that are going to grow you. Most of the time in those teams that are going $1 billion, they found one who that was talent, that was a driver, that was an executor, and they started actually taking the leader and changing the leader to think like they did. And after a while, leaders were getting out of their way, and that who is building this astronomical business to the point of where the rainmaker can kind of step away from it and just be involved in coaching, training, growing, recruiting, those kind of things, all the aims.
Mark, how much did you say your cost of goods was?
On this one here, well, cost of goods sold is basically, what miscellaneous crap kind of went into me getting to that commission amount. It was $54,000, or, excuse me, cost of goods sold, commission paid out, blah, 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 total commission. Yeah, so cost of goods sold were money's paid out, and that's B&O taxes, cap, outside referrals, royalty, all that. So that's what those were. So in this one, it's 54 grand. And then my salaries were 66 grand, which was mostly me. And then benefits processing, which is probably my legal, my bookkeeping, all those guys. That was $6,500 there. Then this came down to the general advertising was 30 grand. Total lead generation costs were 65 grand. Education again, 17,000. This is not something that's on your link. That was where Angel probably missed it because I was having to take stuff out of the link. Might have taken it off of this slide or whatever. So here's my net ordinary income, 400,000. Total other income, $1.15. Let's see what I got there. I don't know what it was. It's something. I got $1.15 from somebody. And then total auto per client. Okay, so my cars are part of my business expense. So we spent $9,200 on cars. There's one year in here, I think you see $100,000. That was a sports car, but it's not on this one. So. Anyways, and then at the end here, you get net income, 396,000. So I made 63.5% of my money. I only spent 36.5% on expenses because I didn't have an admin and I didn't have a buyer's agent. But when I had a buyer's agent and everything like that, I might have made $1 million, and I might have only paid out, 150,000. So I might have made 250,000 more dollars, and this number down here would have been 650 for that my product. Whatever.
I can't see this because my eyes don't see that well, but is that minus your taxes?
No, taxes come next. That's the IRS. Yeah, this is the things that you give to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then last year was just a down year for myself or whatever. And then basically inside your entity, you do this thing called distribution. Everybody familiar with what that is? You pay yourself distributions. They don't charge you taxes because the entities always pay the taxes on it. But your distributions can't be more than your profit. So if I paid myself out more than $400 grand this year, then I would have had some other tax implications with the excess money that I paid myself. I like to run my company. I like my entity to own a certain amount of money so that I always have padding for anything, bad year, stuff like that or whatever. But anything above that padding, I can take it as distributions to myself without any kind of tax implications because the entity's already paying taxes.
Can you explain that more, please?
Basically what it means is you can take profit because my Social Security is only being paid out of the $60,000 out of this here, 60 grand.
So what I'm hearing is, so this is your entity, your LLC, got money that's coming in from it, from all these real estate.
This is only my real estate here.
Okay,
It has
so
nothing to do with my rental properties and everything else. I have Florida, Texas, Arizona, Washington. I have them everywhere. It's nice. Then whenever I leave, I can go to one of these places.
Yeah. So this is your real estate income,
Yeah.
but you're only paying.
This is my real estate practice income.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, the part that you're paying yourself, what taxes are you paying on which part?
Okay, all these kind of filter through your personal, but only 60,000 pays Social Security, 6%.
And that is what you're paying yourself out of that figure.
Yeah, so I pay $3,600 a year in Social Security, plus I pay, whatever the 43% or something tax for the rest of it. But then if you paid on top of all this with the Social Security or whatever, you're paying 50%. If you're in a high income bracket, you're paying 50% of your money to the government, right? But that's kind of why it's important that you also have write-offs because and other things like, if you buy a car that's a certain weight, you can write off, you can expense the whole thing and you have to buy it. So let's just say, for example, you're a sole proprietor, you have $120,000 profit. You go off by $120,000 car, and you have no profit. You have to lower your income. Now, if I sell the car for 60 grand, then I have to recapture some of what I wrote off, right? Because I depreciated it all right away. But these are the games. Also, your SEP IRA or any of those kind of distributions, you can throw money into there. Your bookkeeper and your tax preparer, attorney like mine, those are the ones you have the phone call with, and you go, okay, here's what I got. What can I do?
7% a year,
But then,
7% a year, does that set?
yeah, you got a certain amount you put in there. I think they're looking to do away with the Roth, something like that. But the Roth is cool because you've already paid taxes on it. So however that grows, when you take it out of there, it's tax free. That's pretty cool. There's also cost segregation on your rental property. If you have rental properties, they can actually go and put it down to how much each cabinet was and how much each fixture was and all the other stuff and everything like that. And then they give you a stick report and then you can accelerate depreciation on your properties. So as you buy properties, all of a sudden you get tax break. You do cost segregation on some of your investment properties. You go out, you buy a car that weighs over whatever and stuff, and next thing you know, you're not paying that big a tax bill, right? And inside of paying yourself a salary, you're deducting, you're like a W-9. You're an employee, so you're already paying your social and everything else inside of that salary. I don't get much of that at the end. Goes away, yeah.
So if you would have made that money just regular without the entity, you would have paid nearly 50% tax.
I would have paid 1% over 160,000 per, so up to 250, and I would have paid 6% all the way to 100,000. Yeah, or 140, whatever it was.
And with the entity, you only paid 6%.
You only pay 6% of 60.
60.
Yeah, and then the rest of the money is just income done inside of the entity, so it just pays regular taxes in there, but minus expenses. So if my expenses were higher, then I would have had less income. Right?
Can you take that money out of the entity and roll it into an investment? And
I have investments in this. Yeah, my practice actually also owns investments. In fact, there's a big stake in a major somewhere. Hopefully, it's going to have one. If it does, it could be this business.
if it doesn't come out and go into your pocket, it rolls right into another investment property.
It's done inside, well, investment property, it's still profit, and then it just changes because the only thing I'm going to pay gain on is that money inside investment property. Still pay tax on it, right? Unless for some reason you stick it inside of your self-directed IRA and you direct it towards that property, then you can do that stuff. And then that's the more creative shell game inside of self-directed IRAs, where you can buy real estate inside of your IRA. Then you're sheltering the money because you're going to pay tax on it at some point. Most of the tax game is deferred, right?
The other class we should teach.
Yeah, it's deferred. Well, and I think Mitch has got somebody that we're seeing we get in here, right? And that's somebody to tell you how to shelter your money and stuff like that. And it's all, it's based on the code. So you're doing everything legally the way you're supposed to do it. It's just knowing, what the code is. And the problem for me is I don't have time to read a book that's like that big. That's the tax code. So you get somebody that does.
You made the point earlier, we hire real estate professionals because that's what they do full time.
Right.
We need to hire those wealth builders that know those codes so that they can protect us. I have a quick question for you, Mark,
Please.
because I think I may have missed it in the beginning, but do you get an LLC for each rental property or do you put them all under one? I heard you say all under one, which.
No, I don't like to do that because I don't like to take them out. And I'm trying to remember what the heck they call it. It is it's basically an all inclusive LLC or whatever. You're basically bringing them all under the umbrella of one LLC. Mine are all kind of, they're scattered. A lot of people just do them as single entities and everything. I carry them all under my investment entity, Hewitt Investment.
Okay, because my understanding was by doing it singularly to protect the asset.
It's true because if they want to sue, they can only sue that and you can't grab the other one. But then too, if you have an accountant that charges you to do taxes on every one of your entities, then you're $500 per entity.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, And God, I almost had the name, but go ahead.
How long you been doing this?
Like this? I think and the problem is I was with another company before I went to Keller Williams. So I started doing this when I got to Keller Williams. But the other company, I was trained to do things the way everybody taught everybody to do it the old way, which is it's not about you. It's about you're successful because you're with this company, and you're going to go out there and do everything, and you're going to pay us a cap. Keller Williams, the creative thing about Keller Williams is they allow you to do things to grow yourself as a business because they're not, and they're not like these other brokerages because they're not worried about how much they're going to get because we give half of it away anyways. And profit share, we take just about half the profit, and we can share it with everybody that helps us make it. So we have to do pretty well there too, but we're also letting you do even better through the models that we create inside a company, which provides less company dollar for us in the long run. Yeah.
That's what I love about that. It's like Bob Lucido. He made $1 billion with you guys in his GCI last year. $1 billion GCI as a real estate professional. With
Not
Keller
volume.
Williams. But that was his GCI.
So gross commission income for him last year was
$1 billion. Now, guess what his cap is? $18,000.
Yeah.
So this is what you need to know.
Yeah.
When people say, "Oh, they make so much money," you know that your profit share because you brought him must be huge. No, he pays that cap just like you guys do. So we want you to grow huge and keep your dollars for cost of doing business.
Well, and then if you do profit share, guess how much you pay for a cap? Nothing. Nothing. Because all of his profit share probably gave him more than 18,000 at the end of the year, so his cap was paid for by his profit share.
And that's why it was intended to do is wipe your cap off. So you
I
don't
think
pay
his GCI was something other than that, but that's
No,
not.
remember we saw it.
Well, I know we saw him, but here's the thing, because I know who the number one agent was with the company and what their amount was, and it wasn't even $1 billion. But I'll look, I'm gonna double check.
You got his phone
I don't need to call him, I can see him, it's an open book company, you can go online and see
There
it.
you go.
Yeah. 2000, let's see. Well, Hewitt Property Group is 2016. The Expert Real Estate, I think I started here 15 years ago. So I would guess maybe 2009. And so I'm always about these dates so I can remember when it happened. Remember, I went into business on Cinco de Mayo in 1991. Guess when I came to this office? No, 4th of July. Everybody was so happy I came here. There were fireworks at night. There was everything. And then I was DB. I was designated broker here for like 7 or 8 years, and taught everybody how to do this the right way. And you know what the funniest thing was? Those agents would come back and they'd go, "You know what? I got the sale. How'd you get it?" And they go, "My contract." They said it was the nicest thing they've ever seen. Wow. And I even had an agent one time, there was 25 offers in Kirkland. I said, "Well, you said the offers need to be in by 5 p.m. When do you want mine?" She says, "Call me at 5 and we'll talk about it." And she goes, "I only want to work with you." And I wrote a boilerplate thing for the gentleman. And I said, "This isn't carved in stone or granite or whatever." I said, "We can shift this and everything, but just based on conversations I've had with the other agent, I think this is kind of what it needs to look like." After talking to her on the phone, yes, I mirrored the best offer that they had. And we signed the resale certificate on a Friday. The offer review day was a Tuesday. So our resale certificate would expire on Friday. The guy who signed on that on Tuesday would expire on the following Tuesday. So we were better by 2 days on the resale certificate, and that was it. We got the property. And guess what he said when we went there with the keys when it closed without him ever, I never opened the door for him. He said, "Oh, I thought the kitchen was bigger." And I go, "Oh, don't do this." He goes, "No, I like it anyway." He wanted to be in that neighborhood, so that was it. Yeah.
This is more important now. I mean, you were doing it then, and that's awesome. But this is so important now when you really sit down and do the numbers with inflation and the money printing and all that. If you don't have this plan in place, all the hard work and money you've earned over the years,
Yeah.
you're going to give it right back.
Yeah, you might as well flush it, right? Yeah. Not only, but I'll tell you, I mean, this is the way to go for sure. I was going to say something else, but went out that way. Somebody's in there going, "Self clear," and it's coming back. But yeah, no, I mean, it really is. Oh, what I was going to say is back then, you know what I was doing? Yeah, it came back. Buyer agency agreements. Buyer agency agreements. Everybody had to sign one. My mom would have to sign one. Everybody. You don't get in my car if you don't sign a buyer agency agreement. Back then,
Really?
Oh, hell yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because it was a listing agreement. I don't go like this and shake hands with the seller to put their house on the market. I sign an agreement. And if I'm gonna go with a buyer, I sign an agreement. Bottom line is this, there's too many people that become cab drivers or Uber drivers or Lyft drivers. And I don't mean any offense to anybody that's a Lyft or Uber or cab driver. What I mean is they're doing it in real estate, but they don't have the meter to go up and they don't charge people and they don't get, you know, so when they get in your car, it's to make income for you so you can get paid for driving around.
Did that set you aside when no one else was doing it?
Well, it sometimes would cause me every once in a while, I wouldn't get the client because they didn't want to sign a buyer agency agreement, but then I wouldn't really be worried about it because the problem is they've got 5 or 6 or 7 others. The other thing about a buyer agency agreement is it sparks a conversation that maybe you wouldn't otherwise have, right? Because the minute you ask them to sign that, they go, well, my nephew's in real estate. And you go, tell me more. Well, my nephew's in real estate, but he lives in Bellingham. And I go, well, let me ask you a question. If I found you the right place in Linwood for the price that you're asking and everything like that, would you be writing it up with me or your nephew? Oh, he comes over for Thanksgiving every year. I'd have to write it up with him. Then I'm done. You're either going to work with me and we're going to write it up, or I'm driving you around to show you property so your nephew up in Bellingham can write it up.
Or it gives you an opportunity to tell your value.
Well, yeah, or whatever, but it starts a conversation that you otherwise wouldn't have heard of.
Yeah.
I went to open a door on a house in Silver Lake one time and I showed up at the door with a buyer agency agreement. They didn't want to sign that because they said that their brother or whatever it was would write it up for them. And then I looked and I go, well, I think we're done here. You have your brother not even. Wasn't even my listing, no. With my listing, my seller, do everything in the best interest of my client. I'll open the door and I'll be thankful that they had the conversation with me, right? Most of the time I get it on the phone before I go out there. But I thank them for telling me. I say, you know what, I really appreciate you being honest with me and telling me that you already have somebody that you're working with and everything like that. But they're out of town having a good time east of the mountain and I have time. I'd be more than happy to let you in. You'll love this place. And then if they're you know, whoever it is they're working with writes it up, it's fine. But I don't like being lied to. So if I'm being lied to, then I'm, you know, I don't get out of character, but I'm not happy about it. And I'll remember that was a person that I can't trust or can't believe.
Yeah, it's tough because I see people, they have family members and they're not getting service that I can provide.
I've got one now that's about a $2+ million deal or whatever, and they wrote an offer on a place, they lost it. I could have got it for them. But in that process, because of the new rules, they signed a buyer agency agreement with the other agent. Well, the other agent's even a friend. They basically said, well, I'll tell you what, he goes, yeah, the agreement's over at the end of June. He goes, yeah, July 1st, yeah, if we ain't in place, we're working with you. And I'm just going to tell my friend already knows because they had the conversation of that. And he didn't feel comfortable canceling it sooner. But like a listing agreement, I believe it's cancelable sooner. But as long as none of the properties that you showed to the agent, you know, were part of what you write up, right? Right. There's a clause in paragraph 3 in the compensation or whatever, something like that, or the 3rd paragraph in the compensation that talks about after expiration if somebody else gets paid. I interpreted that because I'm on the forms committee to mean that anybody in the MLS working with agents or buyers under the buyer agency agreement, if somebody gets paid and that commission is the same amount that everybody else's buyer agency agreement was, that nobody else is going to get paid and there's no contractual liability to sue them like the old buyer agency agreement. I'm going to get clarification from Justin on that. But I think really the main basis of it always was, because, you know, who's going to sue somebody contractually if they didn't buy from you later? I think the main thing is the conversations that it develops with a buyer that they may not have otherwise had with you had you not presented a buyer agency agreement. And now it's a law, so you have to do it anyway. Like I carry the real estate disclosure with me at open house, whatever. If somebody starts moving to, which is I'm writing one now for one today, and basically when it moves to a conversation of I want to buy this, I pull that out so they understand that I'm a seller representative and they'll be unrepresented. But I give them a pamphlet right away because that's my duty. Now that there's going to be agency services, I want to clear how they are not represented. But the coolest thing about our state is it's a Washington state statute as opposed to a procuring cause or anything like that. And we're not a fiduciary necessarily, except in the manner that we work with our clients. but we're covered by Washington law. Buyer and seller, we have to be diligently exercising reasonable skill and care in the performance of our duty, a duty of honest, fair, and good faith dealing with all parties, and a duty of disclosing material defects that may not be reasonably ascertainable by visual inspection. So
every single time you do that.
I know. And so we already owe duties to both buyer and seller to be fair, truthful, honest, diligent, and reasonable, and all this other stuff. The only ones that we end up offering our client is not to do anything to the detriment of them in utmost confidentiality into perpetuity. So I can't share anything that they say to you, and I can't ever do anything to their detriment. But paperwork, everything else is going to be on the same forms it is for everybody else. I have a certain number you want to put down, I'll put it down there, that kind of thing. You ask me during inspection, what should I ask them to fix? I really can't tell you. It's up to you. I'll put down whatever you ask. Then you haven't done anything to their detriment if you want to put anything down at all. But so if you can explain it properly, then a lot of times, you can be involved. And more listing agents are going to be selling their own properties in this rule change than before, because buyers are going to be going directly to the listing agent to do things, because a lot of them aren't going to want to sign the buyer agency agreements. They'll be going running scared. And actually, it was funny. Originally, I thought that they hadn't signed one with this person, and I thought, wow, you're working with an agent that doesn't even do what the law says. Then when they said, oh, wait a minute, and then I went, oh, okay, so you did do it. All right. For a minute there, I thought, wow, your guy's so bad he doesn't even do what he's supposed to. Because we have rules we need to go by. Any other questions? Because we'll go to questions at the end. These are the people that I use. This is Evan Nielsen. Oh, I didn't know I was going to give you his direct line. No, I'm kidding. It isn't. But Evan owns Nielsen Law Firm, Nielsen Law Group. Christine is the wife of, and they're both owners, I think, of the company Streamline Business Solutions. She's CEO, so I guess the husband doesn't have as much clout because he's not CEO. Anyways, and then AVP, my connect is James Luhosh. And so we have a phone number here or whatever. If you call any one of these people, please let them know that I sent you. Otherwise, they're going to wonder where you got the number. You know what I mean? Especially James. But James was a great guy. I had a snafu with a bank. He came in to help me, mend it, fix it, and all that other stuff. But some bank did a real funky thing, and we still can't explain it today. But I'm no longer with that bank. We're good.
How does your bookkeeper keep your information?
They have logins to all my stuff.
Okay.
So they can basically come in and they can pull all the data that they need. And Irina, I think, sends them a report every month. So they get my report of what's going on in here.
Do they provide your P&L?
Yeah, well, they do everything. Oh my goodness. And then I can log into the site after every month. They'll send me a thing, and then they'll give you some ask questions. They'll go, where's this? What category should this go under? Where did you spend this money? It's coming up because I have a credit card for the business account. I have business accounts at banks, things like that for each one of those business accounts. And so basically, I mean, if I go to a restaurant and I'm sitting down eating at the bar, let's say, for example, person comes next to me and we have a conversation, we start talking about real estate, I give them my real estate card, I write down their information and so forth. Now I'm networking. So that dinner is paid for by the business. Because I'm now working because I'm bringing in business.
There's another guy, Mitch Palmer. Do you know Mitch?
I've heard the name. I can't recall that.
So I kind of call him the bookkeeping 101 for agents that want to start working with a bookkeeper. He literally will just take your receipts and create your P&L for you. You can do it old school. I know top agents in our industry that are just putting them in an envelope and sending them to him.
But now here's the thing: if all of their receipts were off the credit card, it's on the credit card.
Right. People do it different ways, but Mitch will do it whatever way is best for you personally.
Wow.
And he was an old MCA like Irina is right now. Irina's not old, but he's an older guy that stopped doing the MCA role and created this company for himself, and he does it for real estate agents, Keller Williams, all across the country.
There you go. There's one guy. Yeah. There's another
Mitch
guy.
Palmer. So if you want his name and number too, I can give you that.
There you go. Okay, so everybody good with this slide here? Okay. Questions, comments?
This seems really awesome when you're making tons and tons of money. Well, what do you do when you're kind of starting out? And you said, you need to plan like what is it, 30%, 30%, 40%.
What was that? I wouldn't,
Like how-
this is in here. Oh, it's not in there. Okay. Anyways, okay, so what I'm doing, and I apologize for interrupting, but what I want to say is that first of all, if you're not, you know, the first question would be, why not, right? Why am I not, you know, what am I looking to do, right? What's my goal? And now that you have a goal and you're going, you know what, I want to get to that. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, it sounds like I have to make X amount of dollars. Okay, good. Now let's work backwards to figure out how do we get to that, right? Let me ask you this. How many contacts do you have in your database?
700.
Okay. And then every day you're calling 10 of them every day, and you're doing it 4 times a year, right?
Should be.
No, so you're just, hey, no, you're just like me. Same thing. I pick up the phone. I'm not a phone caller.
Yeah.
I'm a phone answerer. Positive for me was I've been doing this for 33 years as of Sunday. And so a lot of times I get the phone call, come listening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here's the other thing, and I've done it long enough to where when I see that the calls aren't coming like they used to, what do you think I do? You think I pedal faster? No, I take off, I go to the Bahamas, I go to one of my houses, I go rest, I fix up stuff in the house. I do whatever it is I want to do because I've done the chase before. Oh, it worked where I turn it up 10 times and I still get the same amount of lack of calls, right? So for me, I've realized that over time that I don't want to push myself 10 times to generate the same amount of business because I know it'll generate itself. So I go and do the things that I've not done for so long because I've been so busy. And then I figure it'll come. Well, guess what? It's coming now. So now I'm queuing up houses for, you know, to come on the market in the days to come. And I want to get back to calling 10 people out of my sphere per day and doing that quarterly. I already have a touch campaign from another company in Arizona called Follow Up Results. And they send a, you know, every once in a while there's like a holiday, they'll send a thing to them for the holiday. Yeah. And then they'll send them just a market, what is it? It's a newsletter. I get a newsletter that comes out at the beginning of the month. Then I send them a market report, which I draft based on the data that's going on in the market, what's happening and all the other kind of stuff. And I draft that, and that goes out towards the end of the month. So to get 2 touches there, times 12 is 24, plus some holiday touches, but they only go by email. So if I don't have somebody's email address inside my database, they're not getting my stuff. And guess what they get if they don't get my other stuff? They get my Christmas card and they get my Thanksgiving calendar and nothing else.
I think that part of the original question is when I don't have the ROI currently, but we're saying send them stuff, do events, whatever. Am I putting that on a credit card and then I'm praying to God I get a sale, or am I doing all the little things to get that sale? And then I need to break that down into how to push myself through that.
So what I'm saying is first of all, a phone call won't cost money.
Yeah, do all the things that
Won't cost money. Guess how much my follow-up result does, sends out the 24 plus some holidays in the email. Guess how much it cost me a month? You think? How much money? Because it's a company does it. I pick them, but they do.
50.
150.
Okay.
So $150. I mean, that's nothing, right? Pretty much for that kind of a thing that goes out, so it's always in front of people, right? And then as I add people to, I've got just, I mean, my warm database, I only have 600 names. So I have less than you. And your warm database is supposed to provide you the most amount. Yeah, 2 for 12, right? Yeah. For every 12, you're supposed to get 2 pieces of business. So 600 is what? That's 5. That's 50. 50 times 2 is 100. You should get 100 transactions out of that if you're on them all the time. And being in front of them is so that they remember who you are and they know you, love you, trust you, that kind of thing and stuff like that. That's why when Dar says about how many people would use their agent and then how many people do, it's because we're not in front of them, because when the time comes that they want to do it, we should have been the last person in real estate they talked to. Yes.
Just listening to this, because like I said, I taught kindergarten, right? So guess what? That's kindergarten. Well, if you want to create a business that creates your life you want, do what he just said. Create a database that you talk to on a regular that has enough people, and that's science, every 12 equals 2 pieces, and that's how many transactions you want to close a year. That's the science of the kindergarten, and you need to know to build your business and your life.
Okay, and remember our guy Rory down there, Baden or whatever, Rory Baden down at Hewitt. He basically said, find 50, you've got 52 weeks in the year, I think, I mean, the number is 52, but he said, find 52 questions that you should answer for a buyer or seller or whatever, and do 4 videos a month. And basically, and we have a film room where you can do them, and then you take them and different pieces of them, you send them out into the different categories, Instagram, Facebook, feeds, you know, your LinkedIn, all those other things. And you just do this consistently week after week. After about 6 months, next thing you know, you'll become an influencer, and you're calling your people 10 times a day. You'll become that. And how long does it take to call 10 people? I mean, I know that there's some of them talking, so they'll keep you on the phone. So to 10, I guess maybe 2 hours if I'm lucky if they pick up. I mean, if they don't pick up, I should leave a message so that I can mark them off as I called them. So my name's there, that kind of thing. You do that. And then the videos, I mean, they're supposed to be, what is it, 6 minutes or something? Maybe each. Yeah, 6 minutes or whatever, 9? Less. Okay, well, the first one's 6 minutes. Then you tailor it down to a 3-minute for this website. You turn it down like this with language for that one. LinkedIn becomes a letter that AI can do for you. And you do that stuff and you throw it out there. I would like to get into doing that as well, because social media is going to be a big deal. Reviews online is going to be a big deal because everybody's going to be researching you online. And if you don't have much of a presence online, you may lose before you even get in front of the client. So that's where it's going. I'd like to go there with it. I just have to, you know, put it together in my systems and stuff so it does get done. Because even language on it, that kind of thing. And then you've got to come up with something that's kind of a buzz to, you know, excite people. I mean, you got, you know, Carol Warren, this and that, Bill, blah, 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 you know, stuff. And you just do things where, you know, you're nutty, but be yourself. Don't do something you're not. But you gotta be yourself. You know what I mean? That's it. And I mean, I've seen your videos. Your videos are incredible, and you're not even doing it for everybody else. You're doing it for us. No, and they're incredible. I just love them. I think to myself, my gosh, that's so creative. You learn how to do that weekly, you're on your way. And the next thing you know, you'll get somebody, what's the name? Ken Povick in Florida. I met him when he didn't have much of a business at all. He's over in Orlando. And next thing you know, I see him and he's like doing all this business and all this other stuff. He's got this little podcast thing that he's doing. He wears something from his area, and now he's got so much business, he's on his way. And you can't, I don't even think you can work with him anymore. I think he just changed.
He moved there, he knew nobody.
Yeah.
Knew 0 people.
And now he's just, and he reminds me, who does he remind me of? Not Ken Morales, but he reminds me of, who is it? I mean, he looks a little Harry Potterish or whatever, but he's a great guy. No, but he's a nice guy. He's good to listen to. He's going places.
And I want to make a point, Mark. You are amazing at networking with the people you want to learn from. And that's exactly what we have right here. We have a network of agents across the country, across the world, that when you want to learn from them, you can pick up the phone and call them. Kim Bozak, I'm telling you, Brittany, you're a movie star waiting to happen online. Because that's who you're so creative. And if you wanted to look at a model of somebody that did that on a YouTube channel, that's Ken Bozak. And call them up. You want to know how interested they would be in helping you? He would go, heck yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes. Call me on Friday, blah, blah, blah.
And where I was trying to go with that is the Rory thing that we saw at Family Reunion. I was watching that, and after a while, I was going like, I mean, that sounds exactly what he did. And it worked.
Go to the MRA podcast where Jason Abrams interviews people, and Rory is interviewed this week. He's on it.
Oh, awesome.
And by the way, why he's talking about this, again, Mark pays money to get educated. You heard him at the CEO Summit. He was amazing.
Yeah.
So don't say, I can't afford to go to these things. Make money to go to these things and grow you and your business. You grow before your business. Thank you, Mark. I'm leaving, but you're amazing. And I feel your company is so amazing because companies don't teach people how to be business owners. And
do me a favor. Do me a favor, everybody. Next week, Stephen Ross is coming. I'd love to see you and more in this room, because honestly, you will get a whole lot out of what he did, because I went to see him, I didn't have very high expectations. I wanted to look at the knocking door lever just to figure it out, and he doesn't talk that much about it. He talks about other things that are even more captivating, because value squared is what we're all about now in order to gain that business from people that you want to work with. And he teaches that. So come back. I'm going to be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, this is some question. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Right on, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our feasibility is not producer.
Yes. And I also use command. Yeah. So I'm also in KW, but for me, it's my background. If something ever happened here and I lost something or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But do I get on there? No, it's like very much about, I want to, I really want to. Because I'll tell you something, if I customize mom, I need, 3 admins. Oh, I'd be blown up.
And what are your thoughts on Popeyes?
What?
What are your thoughts on Popeyes?
I think it's great if you do it for your, your influencer group in the middle or whatever stuff, like people that are most important to you. Yeah, but I think that's great. I mean, there's a guy in my neighborhood who puts like at the beginning of spring, he puts like a little like daisy or something in a plant there with his little business trailer. He's doing it 4 times a year. The person's name.
He's putting something in a plant.
He puts it at the beginning of spring. He puts a daisy on his front step or whatever stuff with the business card in it or whatever. So you can plant it somewhere. It grows, and after it grows, somebody will look and go, "Oh, what is that?"
That is cute.
But he also does like during another point in time, he does. But it's the Popeye, yeah. But he's doing. He's
There's so many ideas for Popeyes. That's where I get those.
Yeah. Ice cream for them.
But I just.
You find that area that you want to get. I mean, I did another area that was a pretty big area for a while. I spent a bunch of money on it. Guess what? I mean, I did get 2 properties out of it to kind of pay me back. I did get out of line.
Okay.
Well, they come with something else, right? You have to finish the job. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess that's not true. I mean, I did a Popeye and literally somebody called me and was like, my mom's gonna sell her house and, yeah, I just thought of you. I was like, yeah, I left it at your door.
Also, what's your mother's number? What's your name and what's their number?
We're not ready yet. We're not
Oh,
ready.
that's all right. Now's the best time to get me involved because I can help you get ready.
Bingo.
I mean, you just can't let them go. You gotta get them. And you know what? I'm not saying, anybody know Joe?
I don't like to be pushy. I want them to work their stuff out. It's like.
Jeff, I've known him for a long time. And now he's a bigger hitter. I think he's got his own jet and everything else. And he's flying around speaking. Anyway, bottom line is, he's sending me an email daily with some little nuggets. And I'm listening to it because I'm going, I mean, he's trying to tell you front and center, what you need to do. But he says, I don't carry business cards. He says, somebody asked for a business card. I go, why you ask? And he said, well, I'm going to do this.
That's what I do in my open. I don't do signing.
Well, I do, but I only let them sign. I go, oh, well, I've been looking for 4 years or whatever. I've seen a million houses. I guess registry that gets you, you don't need to sign it.
Mine is, who's your agent? Who's your agent? And they're like,
Crazy? No, you ask them, what's your agent's name?
well, that's the same thing. Who is your agent?
Are you working with an agent?
It's not the same as who's your agent? It's the same thing. Not are you working with an agent? And that's what I do is who's your agent? And they'll say, oh, so my friend, this is happening. And then I'm like, okay, well, have thoughts. Show to me below the questions. They're like, oh, we're not working. And then that's when I bring them to my computer. I have it set up with my landing page and I get them to input their information, then it goes right into my command.
So now you know all of their registered bump, right?
Yeah, right.
And they're in.
And they're my. I have a quick question for you. Thank you, Margaret. I'm almost running out of time.
Thank you. Hey, good to see you. Hey, I like the picture. You guys are having fun. I don't know. You went back somewhere with the husband or whatever. Hey, friend, I said I liked it. Whatever it was. I'm just seeing out there. I'm We're at the Tulip. We're right to the Tulip Festival.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I remember.
I'm wondering if I need to change. That's fine. So let's just pretend my income's $100,000, meaning into my LLC. Okay? I don't want it. And of that, I pay myself 40,000. I'm just saying.
Because this number is in your card. Because you couldn't hire somebody to do your job for $40,000.
Okay, I'm just using this.
I know, well, okay, no problem.
So let's just pretend.
Let's just pretend, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll say 40.
So what you're saying, based on what I heard you
60
say.
that we could come up with that we think is.
Okay, we'll say 60.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we'll just say 60. Okay, pretend this is 200.
No, it could be 100.
Okay.
100. I mean, it could be, I did, I don't know, what did I do, 180 last year or something and stuff. I paid myself 60, it was 120, it wasn't, you know, so I can do.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is what you pay yourself, you only, this is what you're paying Social Security, but not a difference between this.
Right.
So,
You pay taxes, and you're only paying taxes on 40,000 here,
why?
because that's the only thing that's left when you're paying taxes.
Yeah. Oh, if
And you already took your, well, yeah, and you already.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Dan?
How about no, I don't.
So this right here is probably more like, let's see, 48. I probably get 48 of that and 12 goes to taxes. Already sits in the Fed's pocket, so they have 12 grand of my money and I get 48 of it. And I don't pay unemployment or L&I because I'm the business owner. I'm not going to sue myself.
Right. So what do you pay them on this to the IRS?
Well, since this portion's already been paid, it's almost like doing. Taxes out.
Yeah, so, cause yeah, okay, so just give me that extra, I'll let's do next time.
Subway? You pay taxes.
Oh, don't worry.
So where does your W-2 come from for how you're paying yourself? Who prepares that W-2 for you? So in my case, I don't have ADP, but I have a CPA. So am I supposed to be preparing this?
They can get a payroll company to pay your paycheck.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So
what I-
basically, every 2 weeks or whatever, my payroll is the 17th.
I have about 5 minutes, what's that?
I wonder. Okay, that's probably.
Not important.
She had a company that changed for it to see over mine.
Surprise. Okay, you need to do what I do.
You have- Yeah.
That seems to me.
Okay, I see.
We're just
That's
point and
covered.
click, like, you know, they put it all together.
I don't have a W-2, so that's
Yeah, because then you're basically, your 40 is all that you have to put over, but guess what happens to your 40?
Or you can't read.
That's the number that goes down.
Yes, even worse. I know, even worse, but here's the thing, they should find you. Yes.
So last year, how'd you mention a car? I bought it right now.
I don't remember.
I don't think I even counted
I'm
that.
just saying,
It's a,
all the time.
Chevy Traverse. It's brand new, loaded, it's nice.
90% of it for your business.
I book whatever it is when it's happening.
Yeah, I do. That's the whole reason I bought it, for my staging business, because I have my real estate and then I have my staging.
In other words, like my, anything on the sports stuff. So I drive that, it's a business expense because the business is called.
Did you buy that car in the entity's name or in your name?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only way to have an argument that I don't own it.
Yeah.
Entity owns it. And then I have investments and stuff. When I make a bunch of money in this thing, or whatever, I can put it in stuff so it's working.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I
anyway,
just need to, I need to do the W-2 because
are you working on?
So, you know what I mean? So that means I will learn it.
I've been so long.
I have the same.
We no longer pastor the church, and so my husband started his own business, so we're all self-employed, and she has the LLC. But we're restructuring everything, so I'm just like,
But no, but I mean, you get that, but wasn't thinking about the next taxes, and you could have this.
okay, got it. Because this year, I had to pay way more than I thought I would, so, you know, you pay your quarterly, and then when my CPA gave me my taxes, I was like,
I didn't pay that much in this year because.
Oh, no problem, because I have a meeting at 11. Hang on.
And it's not too late to do it.
Yeah.
11,000, right?
I
I
mean,
think it's 11 or 17.
By 11, by 12, around 10, and I need like this. Five. I can drop you off at 9:45. I can down here to get back here.
Whoa.
I feel like that.
You get down to just some of these guys.
I think it's so
sharp.
A difference.
I think that probably was. I got you. Well, there's
They
such a
just
way to
hyper-focus on it. How is it supposed to be?
Like, it's better for her just to get you.
No, that's all good. That's all good. I think I think I'm taking that. Because I'm like, area where.
Yeah. That's still nice, but she'll be there. Yeah, that's perfect. Good. Perfect. So she'll be coming to the house right now, like. Oh. Perfect. Oh, so Kobe's gonna stay. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? It is what it is. It's just. What it is. I know. So, you know what? Yeah, it's not Kobe. Kobe was planned. Ace was not. We're doing your son. We're doing your son's goal. Yeah, you. Well, I mean, you get life from her. No, I get it.
It's just people don't understand what all this.
Oh, no, I know, I get it. I felt like it's, oh.
It's a lot of work.
So. Well, thank you so much.
Let me know if I can help further.
All right.
Absolutely, that doesn't surprise me at all.
And then I just got my MRI.
See, that's what's happening to me.
So, like, the biggest thing was like, I have
Stop. Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Dude, that was good. It got me pumped up. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, so you got the group off? Yeah. No, yeah, you can start doing one and see. I mean, like, okay, babe. No. Okay, I will. Okay. So, you know what, it's so weird, so I put the address in, and it just pops up things in the area. But did it go live yet, or is it just getting listed, or is it active? Is it for sale? Or are you just asking me, what are you asking? Oh, got you. So, yeah, I didn't understand what you meant when you sent me the address, so. Oh, okay, so you're saying, okay, so what you want then is you want a current market analysis on this property. Okay, so hang on one second. Let me pull it up really fast to make sure I got the right one. Yeah, I'm happy to make that for you. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm sure, how long has your sister owned it? Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, well, because let me see, when I pulled up the address. Yes, that's why I'm checking to see if it's the right property. But your sister gave you the address, correct? Yeah, that's what I figured, but I just couldn't, so there's two different ways to look up properties. Either, either you can do it by the owner's name and you can do it by the address. So I'm gonna do it by the address, that's what you gave me. Then I'm gonna tell you, oh, that's okay, let's do it this way. Yeah, I was very confused because I'm like, I don't know why. I'm like, why is she giving me this? It's not for sale. And then now I know because it's not for sale. But, well, it's because, well, first of all, okay, so I don't have, it doesn't give me, so I have Heather Rain, R-A-N-E, and then I have Harry Sullivan. So let me, okay, hang on. Okay, what's the last name? L-I? Wait, no, what's the last name? La, L-A, and then the first name is L-I? Okay. E-A-N. Okay. Let me look. Okay. So La. Okay, so now there's I-C. So they have it rented, correct? So it's La Danny and La Lee. Okay, perfect. Okay. So they have, it says rented. So property address. Okay, so the one they have rented is 3307 Wells Avenue. Rent. Okay, hang on. Then they have, yeah, they've got, okay, then they're, okay, they have, well, let me look up. They have something in Newcastle. Is that their house? Okay. Yeah, she does have four. I know she has, and she has something in Renton, she has something in Newcastle, and she has, there we go. Okay, so then we've got number 22. So the last one must be, let me check. Okay, so you know what it is? It's because, yeah, you gave me the wrong address. That's why. You gave me one, what'd you give? You gave me, yes. Street. Uh-huh. Yes. So this, yeah, I know, but that's not, they don't own that. They own 12235 Southeast 56th Street. What they own. Because I'm looking in the county records. They don't own the one that